you'll log into ACES, you'll go into the employee tab, you'll click in Alamo Talent, and then you'll continue to go through there. I will show you there's multiple ways to get in and do things. However, we find that the easiest is to go through your snapshot, and that's a part where you access it through your individual bio page. It's your profile page, and I'll show you what that looks like, and then how you can go ahead and create and update those goals. Okay, and Catherine, if you'll go ahead and go to the next slide, and then I'll take them into the system. And then I'm also going to show you those resources. Okay, so again, it's going into ACES, and you're welcome to follow along with us as I show you this, because I think that if I show you, you do it, and we do it together, it sometimes helps, right? So you can think through the process and see how that works. But there's lots of resources, and I will tell you a caveat. We are in the process of updating. We did some focus groups last year and got some feedback as to how we can improve the system to make it a little more user-friendly and easy for you. And we're about to launch that new look and feel. So I want to show you what the current resources are now, and then you'll see, and we'll help you when the process changes. And I'll set up some times that we can do some additional sessions to navigate if necessary. But it's important that we focus on first things first, right? We want to get our SMART goals, because that's the first step of the process. So I'll go ahead and share my screen now and take you into the live system. And there's a resource that was already uploaded in your chat. This is a small portion of the new guide that's about to come out. So you guys have the first look at this. And this is just a small piece. So it's not in any way final or anything like that, because it's just the very beginning of what you'll see as the new documentation. So I wanted to point that out. Let me know when y'all can see the screen. I know it takes just a minute or two for mine to load. Can you all see it?
It's loading.
As it's coming up, just give me a heads up when you can see it. But as the system comes up, everybody is familiar with getting into Alamo Talent. And so I want to just take you from the Alamo Talent page. Can you all see it now? Okay, great.
Yes.
So when I come into Alamo Talent, and I just want to make sure this shows me my navigation bar. Okay, so of course you can come in through performance, and this is where the resources are currently right now. So I'm just going to show you a few things. When we come down to the employee performance planning, you'll see that you have some start here information. A lot of this is going to be collapsed down into a very guided document for you as a user. So if you're a supervisor, you're going to have all the steps that it takes to work with employees that are 90 days, that are currently in your annual process, and that are what to do when you have an employee that leaves the institution or goes to another college or another department or division. How do you handle your goals? And so those things are coming. But you'll also see that this has been updated. Daryl Nettles, many of you know him, he is retiring this month. And so he's leaving us. He's enjoyed his journey, but he's on his way out the door. So we've done some shifting. I'm still your coach, but I also now am a coach over at for SAC and for the Vice Chancellor of Information and Performance Planning Systems. And then these are the other coaches. So if you need assistance, you'll work with your supervisor first and then bring me in to help guide you both on how to go forward if you get stuck. But there's some training resources here. You'll see that this is the current process for our cycle. Okay, so in January, we're doing SMART goals. Again, so this is the first things first. What do we need to accomplish right now? We really highly recommend that you have it set up by the 31st of this month so that everything for the year is being worked on so that you can complete on time and on target. And then you're ready for the review at the end of the year instead of trying to play catch up. Okay, so this is the current process timeline. Going back to the SMART goals, you have a section here on SMART goals. Now, I've taken a lot of this documentation and collapsed it and brought it into this new guide for you. Again, this is just a snippet of the guide that you'll see, and this is the employee side of it. Okay, so you'll see achieving results. You cannot get to it from the current page. This is brand new for you. Again, I'm just showing you the pieces that are being developed. Okay, so here's the timeline. I have a checklist for you in this document that I've provided. I'm showing you that there are steps that you can take. These have been updated, simplified, giving you examples. I'm not going to go through the whole document, but I'm just going to show you the highlights. So you can see step by step how to go through the process. Makes it easier. When you come down to the bottom, I've given you an appendix that gives you some examples, a worksheet to go through. So this performance planning worksheet is to help guide conversation between you and your supervisor as you start to establish what your priorities are for the year. Because you think you know what you need to do, and your supervisor thinks that they know what you need to do. But if there's a disconnect, you may be doing things that maybe aren't priority or aren't the top things that need to be accomplished. We all have many things. I know I could probably list out 20 things that I've got to do just in this month, and they're all priority, right? But what do I need to accomplish for the year long term? Those are the top things that I need to do. If nothing else gets done on time, these are the things that really I get to push back on a little bit. And so that's the beauty of it. I can negotiate with my supervisor timelines and things because I need to know what the priorities are, because priorities shift all the time. So this helps me to establish that conversation and work through all the other aspects. I'm not going to go into the other aspects because this is a focused class, but here's overall what it should look like when you're done. We're going to walk through that. I gave you some examples, and you'll see that there's some Palo Alto examples in here. And then I've also given at the bottom some frequently asked questions that are going to help you to understand what some of the terminology is and whatnot, as well as a glossary of terms. That was something that people wanted to know, a little more of the glossary for some of the things that they maybe don't have a clear understanding of. So that's the guide itself. Okay, going back over to this area, these are the things that you can access right now. Again, some of these are already collapsed down for you. Okay, but I do want you to know that that's available. You also have over here your specific performance action area. Now, if you have goals that are not completed for last year, you might have those goals show up in here. You might also have a progress review if you haven't completed that, or a development plan. Those things will show up in here. Up to 10 items can show here. And so I just want to be very specific in saying that you only need 3 goals. Can you have more? Yes. Can you have less? You really should have 3 in the system ready to go. That is the expectation up front. Okay. So the best way, can you get to SMART goals from here? Yes, you can. But this is going away. All right, so I really want to focus everybody on going up to their picture. And if you don't have your picture, there's going to be a guide that's going to tell you how to put your picture in here. But you go to your picture or the bobblehead icon. When you click in here, it's going to load your profile page, which I highly recommend that you fill out, give a bio for yourself and fill out some information. You can also see who your direct supervisor is. So if you're not seeing your supervisor, Hope Galvan is my supervisor. And if you are a supervisor, who your team members are. So if there's anybody who's on here that's not supposed to be, you need to get with us to get those items fixed. There probably hasn't been an EPAF submitted. A lot of times people are not submitting those EPAFs to get those fixed. So we need to make sure that that's done. When you're in the system, the snapshot is going to be your friend. this is one of my favorite places to go because it's your dashboard for all the work that you're doing. Okay, so here's an example. I don't have my SMART goals yet. My supervisor and I are currently working on SMART goals for this current term, but this is your SMART goal tile. So I'm going to click into my tile. And you can see that I have a drafted example in here right now. But what they should be at the end is something like this. Okay, so you should have your 3 goals in the system for the current period. This is last year's, and this is the current period, which is defaulting every January 1st. It will default to the new calendar year. We operate our performance on the calendar year, okay? So how do I go ahead and start creating? The best way is clicking Create up in the top corner. And the guide walks you through step by step what I'm showing you right now. And then I recommend highly to follow the wizard, okay? Just like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, follow the yellow brick road. Well, the wizard will set you straight, right? It will make sure that you complete each one of the specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely pieces. This is what constitutes a SMART goal. And a lot of times people are getting hung up because they've skipped a step. So this will make sure that you don't skip a step, okay? So we'll start with a title. To make it just a short, sweet, simple title, all you need is you start with a verb. Everything should start with a verb. Are you maintaining? Are you increasing? Are you engaging? Are you developing? Are you creating? What is it that you're doing? For this example, I'm going to use just that we're going to increase FTIC enrollment. Okay. And then you put in a description. Okay. And I usually like to make the titles just short, 3 to 5. It's just an overall, what is it I'm trying to focus on? A verb and what it's about. The description is a little more detailed. I can come in here and I can put a little more details about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And I like to put in due dates. I also like to put in kind of my milestones or deliverables, right? These are the actions maybe that I might be focused on. And I also like to try and tie it into the overall strategy for the college. So maybe this is going to be for this year. I'm just using a previous example, right? So if we're doing something for this year, it might be 22, okay? So you can come in and you can edit this to make it relevant. And if it's tying into student success and you have an objective, maybe 1 for your unit goal, maybe that's what you're going to do. This goal ties or supports unit goal for student number 1 for student success. Okay, you could even go in as far as saying persistence or completion, or to help tie it into the overall strategic initiatives. Okay, I also sometimes, like I said, like to put in here some short deliverables, right? I might focus on reminders or NSO. I might do that. I need to send out emails for registration. I might need to send a follow-up postcard. Okay, there might be some other things, but that just gives you an idea. Once you have kind of an idea of what the goal is about, hit continue. When it comes in here, you'll notice that the specific now is completed. I'm on measurable. So now I'm adding a target. A goal is a target. So that is the goal itself. And I like to put this in terms of from X to Y by when. So what does that look like? That's a formula. Okay, so the target might say increase FTIC enrollment from 1571 by 5% to 1654 by October 31st, and let's just put 22. Okay. So what is the X? If I'm looking at this, again, it starts with a verb. Okay, I always start with a verb. The what is it about that I'm focused on? My X is where I'm at right now. I'm at 1571. My Y is 1654. And by what date? And you need to have a specific date in here because this is the date that you're saying you'll accomplish this. This is the target date. So just like when we think of Alice in Wonderland, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. So you have to define what that looks like. We want to say that we want to complete our goal successfully. So that means we have to know what that looks like. So this is short, sweet, and simple. Anything more than this is really just fluff, and it starts to make it vague, and you lose the ability to measure it appropriately. Short, sweet, and simple. Okay. Then we're going to tie in how you're measuring it. So in this case, we're using a percentage. Our start value is the 1571. Our target, where we want to end up, is our 1654. And then we're going to save it. And you'll see that it puts in our target. You must have one target. Can you have more? You can, but every goal must have one target. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is the what, okay? The how is our next step. So I'm going to hit continue. Measurable is now done. Now we're talking about actionable. So these are the high-level tasks. I'm not going to get into the minutia of everything. I'm just going to put in the key milestones or the key steps that I need to do in order to accomplish this goal that's going to have impact for my ability to make this successful. Okay, so what that might look like is I'm going to first ensure that a reminder calls are sent out to all the new student orientation registrants 2 days in advance, okay? Another step might be that I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add reminder emails so that they know all the registration ready students and we have that attendance roster. The next step might be that I'm going to send out those postcards. So these are things that have to get done. And I might come in here and say that I'm going to, again, follow up with a text message. So I'm putting in here multiple different activities of how to make sure that the students have the information and are able to attend. Okay. So here's all the information. And this also helps us to move past or move forward in that registration process. Okay. So these are the high-level steps for this particular goal. And again, 3 to 5 is sufficient. Could there be more? There could. Do I need to list everything? No. Just the high-level tasks. Okay. I'm going to hit continue at this point. And then now I'm on the relevant steps. So how does this tie into overall strategy for the institution? This is really student success. By enrolling the students and increasing the enrollment, that's going to ensure completion towards the end, right? We have to have our students come in before we can graduate them. So student success is how this is going to be measured. Continue. And now I'm going to put the due dates. So if I'm starting this process, it might start in May. So I might have to go all the way to May. Let's just put in the 2nd of May for this one. And by August, I need to have this completed. So I can actually make this come in here and put 8. That'll get me to August. And then if I need to have it done by the 15th or the 12th, I can state those dates. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have your overall dates. Another thing just to check and be cautious of is when we're done, we'll see that it populates. Okay, so I want to make sure that this ties into my overall dates. So if I put October 31st, but I had the due date of August, that's a disconnect. So I want to make sure that those dates are correct. So I can here and I can edit those dates to make sure that they align to each other. We see this a lot. So that's why I'm bringing it in. So the 31st. Okay. If I have some things that have to be sequential to help me to ensure that those milestones are set up so I can show success measures across the way, then I can come in here and I can edit those dates to say, well, this one's going to be done by the end of May. Okay, so I can have that one that's due in May. Maybe this one is something that can also be done by the end of May. So I can put that in. Can I start it early? Can I end it early? Yes, I can. So these two might be done and can together at the same time. And this one might be something that has to wait until later. So I might send this one out in June. Okay. So you can see that these dates fall within my overall. And then of course, the target we want to make sure is the correct date. So if that's going to be the October, see what was that date? October 31st. Then I need to make sure that that shows October 31st, right? So 10/31. Okay. So my goal date and my overall goal is the same. And then these dates can be staggered so that I have milestones. When everything is good, I can save it as draft. If I save it as draft, it goes into my draft, and I'll show you what that looks like. It goes in here as a draft. Now, I'm the only one who can see it. My supervisor cannot see this. As a coach, I cannot see this unless I work with you or mask as you so that I can see that you have something there. In order for your supervisor to see it, you have to go in and edit it and submit it. So you just come back in. If you make adjustments, you can do those adjustments. And then once you hit submit, it will go to your supervisor for approval. Now, once it's approved, can I edit afterwards? Absolutely. You can edit at any time. If priorities shift and deadlines shift, you just go in there and shift them. What's going to happen is this will say pending modification approval. If it goes back to my supervisor hasn't updated it, which means that I need to go to my supervisor and make sure that they review it, let me know if there's any changes that need to be made, and then they can approve it. Once approved, then I can go in and I can update the status. So let me show you I'm approved. Once it's approved, you'll come in here and you click on that caret, and I'm going to show all the items in this. And then all I have to do is change and put the new status. So if this were now 100% complete, I would put 100 and it will automatically update, and it'll update my goal percentage here, and it will update my overall goal for all three goals. Okay, so that's how that works. Are there any questions on this process for creating and updating your goals?
Hi, Heather. I just want to confirm, when you create the tasks, you're not going to be able to select an end date until you've fully created them, right? Or saved
Correct.
it? Yes. Okay.
Yes. The task dates will show when, and they'll all align to the overall.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So thank you, Heather, for walking us through the structure of the SMART goal system. Again, I know I always learn something new literally every single time that we walk through it. So thank you, Heather, for doing that, to walk through the system. And what I want to spend a little bit of time now doing for the remainder of the session is, again, just kind of bring forward what I have learned as a leader using the system, what our team has learned through the guiding principles document, and then really walk through a couple of examples and then open it up for just questions and discussion as well. So can you all see the slide, KVD tips, tricks for building SMART goals?
Yes.
Okay, So this slide really just represents, me as a leader utilizing this system, sense making, trying to figure out how I use it for my role, but how do I use it for my division? And so really the way I see it is keep it simple and make it work for you. The SMART goal timeline is a calendar year, but a lot of our work is an academic year. So sometimes you're going to have, and you'll see in some of the goal examples, you'll have kind of splits because your SMART goal is running for February through, December, but you might be doing tasks through August and then beginning kind of a different or related set fall through, September through December for the upcoming academic year. So I always tell the leads, just make it work, structure it in a way that supports you in your role and makes it work. 3 goals, like Heather said, the way that I understand it is your task should build to achieve your target. So tasks are the things you're doing to achieve the target. And then ultimately the target should build to achieve your goal. I always recommend, I know you can do different start dates and end dates and change them. I'm going to be honest, for those of you who know me, I'm like the pragmatic, efficient. How do we do this in the best way possible with the best quality, with the best integrity, and like get the job done? And so I always recommend set the start date and end date for the entire year. Keep it simple. And then really define what you're doing in the task targets. Otherwise, I know what we do find with the supervisors is we're going back in and we're having to edit the timelines, adjust the timelines, send them out for approval and send them back. And so for me, it's easier to just set it February to December and then just track your targets and your tasks as you're meeting regularly with your supervisor, unless it makes absolute sense to adjust the time frame. So like with my SAC COC goal, I set the time frame in March because that's when the documents are due. What I've also found is really helpful is in your description for the targets, define exactly how you are calculating the targets. Please give me an emoji or chat if you feel this pain, but sometimes the target's 3, but we never, at least for me, I'm like, what did I mean by that 3 when I go back in a month later to update it? So it's been super helpful to just give a definition of how you calculated the target. And I include an example here. And again, we just keep it simple. Share updates with the college community during spring and fall convocation state of the college. My target is 2, and I define that when I do 1 presentation in fall and 1 in spring. And then the final piece is we really pivot to align the SMART goals to enrollment. Is it's been helpful for us to label them. So label them enrollment, persistence, completion, whatever bucket or whatever focus area you're working on. It just keeps it very clear at the front end that, oh, this goal is supporting persistence, it's supporting enrollment, or it's supporting all 3. What I'm going to walk through is a guiding principle guide, again, like the practical kind of pragmatic guide as we deploy SMART goals across the division that the leads and I have developed. And that's one of the documents that Dr. Alston shared. Again, use it as it works. It's just, as a leader using the system, this is just what I've developed to kind of demystify the whole process, to track all of our lessons learned, because there's a lot, and just provide clarity on what the alignment can kind of look like. And I think it is helpful to remember that, our performance planning, it has 3 components. It is the SMART goals, it's competency assessments, professional development plan. Today we're focused on the SMART goal piece, but there are other pieces like Heather mentioned that are important, and the guide will speak to those, but we're just going to focus in on the SMART goal. And then the way I see it is you have 3 components of this system and you have 2 phases. You have a develop and create phase, which we're in right now, where we're creating the SMART goals. And then you have the evaluation phase, really at the end of the year, the next calendar year, which are kind of like the performance review. So we're creating the SMART goals, we are achieving them, and then we're evaluating whether or not we achieved them, just to kind of give us a framework for everybody. But again, we're focusing on SMART goals and the development. So I want to really kind of walk into the examples, right? So these are my SMART goals. So don't judge me. They are not perfect. We're always refining and working to make them better and stronger. But these are my SMART goals for 2022. And you'll see I labeled them on the areas where I feel that they align. And I generally have the same 4 main focus areas year over year. This is not all the work I do, just so we're clear, but this just are the key priority areas for my role in collaboration with Dr. Garza and what he'd like the VPCS role to focus on. So the first one is actually around achievement of unit goals for the division and achievement of SMART goals for the division. And this is an example I included in here because it kind of shows you how we're split, right? And again, chat or emoji, if y'all have kind of felt this, you know, the SMART goals are for the calendar year, but our unit goals run split across the calendar year. So I have to track for 2022, I'm finishing up kind of the final 8 months of the 2021-2022 unit goals. So January through August, but then I'm beginning 2022-2023 unit goals September to December. So you kind of see how they're split and then the SMART goals align. I also have a focus on budget. It focuses on it aligns and supports everything, right? But that's another one where the fiscal years are split across the calendar year. And then I have a focus on SAC COC reaffirmation, which impacts everything. And then finally, capital improvement projects, which definitely impact enrollment because we're able to bring on new programs, have more space, and easily justifiable back to enrollment. So I'm just going to dive down into the capital improvement projects one, the facilities one. And again, I use mine as an example because I'm like, man, college services, you know, which is not necessarily your traditional student affairs areas, the directly student success facing areas. If we can tie and align to enrollment and just show an example of that justification and how it's made that all of our work really supports enrollment, persistence, and completion, then I think it gives y'all a sense of how any other areas across the college can tie as well. So you'll see my title, simple. Description, I explain to delineate the tasks and the targets. And the way that I do my goals, and again, like this is just me trying to survive in this system. I don't know about y'all, but my time is limited. SMART goals are an important part of what I do, but I try to keep it really simple. So it works for me. It makes sense for me. I can get in and out and I'm not getting overwhelmed and stressed out by what I've got in the system. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but the way I do it that's easier for me is I just set targets and essentially the description are my tasks. And then I let the execution of the tasks live outside of the SMART goal system. And I'm just updating my progress to those. So this just kind of walks you through, essentially, we want all the capital improvement projects to be within budget and built on time. Those are like the key pillars for these projects so that we can then get students into those buildings. We have a whole oversight structure that we put in place to ensure that that happens. And that's within my control as VPCS. The project management for the projects actually lives at district, but I have control at the college level to deploy this oversight structure that keeps us moving and keeps us within budgets and within timelines for the project. So that's essentially what you see delineated here. And then sharing with the college community is important as well. And you'll see how I said, you know, define the targets. And so I define the targets 2 times a month, except January and December, which is only going to be 1 time, times 12 months, 22 is my target. So every time I complete a meeting, complete a task, I go in there and I update the actuals off to the right-hand side here, like Heather showed with the progress. Okay, so that's an example. What I want to do here, and I apologize, I should have done this earlier, is just show y'all very quickly. Can you see the SMART goal guidelines for VPCS, the Word document?
Yes, we see them.
Okay. So this is the guiding document that we created within the division. It just further distills this system and what it looks like as you move to deploy it. Again, it's not the end all be all, but it helps me lead the division, and it helps the leads lead their areas and just provide clarity wherever we can provide clarity. So it talks about, this is the timeline of the goals. We're going to create, review, and approve them in January. The goal timeline technically begins in February 1st, December 31st. Keep in mind, it's different from the academic year. And then I talk about how goals should be aligned to your unit goals, your 40X, and all in support of enrollment, persistence, and completion. Anything outside of that, which again, I feel like the justification can already be made, it comes through VPCS for approval and review. And then we do have some areas that don't have unit goals. And so we talk about, hey, the goals focus on priority projects, essential job duties, and support of enrollment, persistence, and completion. So I'll use like Cecilia, the admin, amazing admin to the VPCS as an example. She doesn't necessarily have those unit goals, but her goals still focus on priority projects. So this coming year for 2022, one of hers is going to focus on collecting feedback from students and stakeholders on our dining services offerings that we have, because that's kind of part of our agreements. That falls in college services because we get a little bit of all the fun. And so her goals are going to focus on that. If we have dining services that are quality for our students, that are affordable for our students, then that's an engagement support service that we provide, all in support of persistence of our students. Again, it's not, advising, reaching out to their students, but it's a piece of the ecosystem that further helps our students persist from semester to semester. So that's kind of what that sub bullet is getting at. What we also delineate here are just, again, the clarity around the tasks and the targets. For anybody who's built these goals, and myself included, oh my goodness, if you as you're building the tasks and targets, it can get so overwhelming because, like Heather said, there's so much work that we do that you can kind of make it confusing for yourself and sometimes harder on yourself. So what I try to tell for the leads is each goal should have a task and a target per quarter or semester. Sometimes works really well. The task should be broken into smaller milestones that achieve the overall goal. The task is your action you take to achieve the goal, and the target is a measure to help you know if you completed the task or not. And ideally, once all 4 targets are met, then your overall goal is met. So again, I just do the targets, I collapse them into one because that's easier for me. But essentially, it's your task is, what are you doing? Your targets, how do you know you achieved it? Set it for the quarter and do those big ticket major milestones. So then by December, you've ideally achieved your goal. The other way that we've done it, so thank you IT, is sometimes it's helpful to do short-term projects by semester quarter and set, sorry, this says goal, but set the tasks and targets. Actually the goal, yes, the goal by those time frames. So goal 1 might be January through April, and then you have your corresponding tasks and targets that sit under that. So this works really well for IT because of the nature of their work. And it's just another option that we kind of learn through the system. So again, you kind of want to think of your tasks as lead measures for your SMART goals, and your SMART goal is the WIG. So what do you need to do to achieve the goal? And then I always try to remind, professional development or education, it's not a goal. That should be in your professional development plan portion. And then if the goal takes longer than a year, that's okay. Because I think sometimes we want to achieve it all in a year. Don't try to do that. Just say, hey, phase 1, we're going to do this in 2022. And then phase 2, we'll plan to do this in 2023. So that kind of gives you an overview of that guide. I know we're coming up really close on our timeline, but just wanted to walk everybody through the guide, walk everybody through, my goals as examples. And, I think the big reminder is keep it simple, use the system to work for you. And I did include within the chat additional examples from our college budget office that tie to enrollment, persistence, and completion. I also included a STEM center example for persistence and aquatic and athletic center sample for persistence, in addition to the goals that I shared that are mine. And then like Cecilia's that I shared as well. So I know we're like really, really close to time, and I apologize we didn't have more time for questions. But I do want to ask y'all, what questions y'all have, reservations, maybe concerns. Do you feel like I can tie to enrollment? You know, I feel good about this. I look at like Dora and Dana and Melissa, and I'm like, schedule build is a good maybe go-to for SMART goals related to enrollment, because that's critical. And I know that's a big part of what y'all do amazingly well in supporting the institution. So I think it's just a matter of what are your priorities and how do you frame them and justify them to enrollment. I think this is always really, really possible in my view. So we'll open it up for questions. Or if y'all want to email questions, please don't hesitate to do that. We're here to help provide clarity wherever we can. And I know Dr. Elson wants to collect some feedback as well briefly at the end of the session.